So we're going to be solving a system of three equations with three variables. So we have three equations here. We're going to find x, y, and z. Now, the main thing that I would suggest that you do, and this is important, is you want to make sure that you can get these three equations that are given, and you want to consolidate them or condense them into two equations. Oops, pen's not working here, sorry. Two equations with two variables. Okay, so the goal is to take these three equations and get them into two equations with the same two variables. So for example, I like to take each of these equations and give them a letter. It's going to be a little bit easier, I think, when we're dealing with so much stuff later on. So for example, I'm going to look at A and B. And if I look at A and B, I notice that in A I have a minus 4y, and in B I have a plus 4y. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take my A equation, and I'm going to write that down. 4x minus 4y plus 8z equals 20. Then underneath it, I'm going to write the B equation. 8x plus 4y minus 4z, and that equals 4. Now if you notice, if I eliminate y's, because I have a negative 4y and a plus 4y, what that does is I can add these two equations, my y's will cancel out, and I get 12x plus 4z equals 24. So what I've done is I've consolidated those two equations, A and B, into another one that only has two variables. So that's kind of the goal. That's sort of what we would like to do. Now I'm going to call that equation D. And again, it's going to make it a little bit easier down the road. Okay, so I did that. Now what I want to try to do is I want to do that again, and I want to get another equation. And that equation I also want to get in terms of two variables. And I'd like to get it in terms of the same two variables. So if you look at D, D has just x's and z's. I want to get another equation that also just has x's and z's. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick equation B. So I'm going to write it down, 8x plus 4y minus 4z equals 4. And then I'm going to pick C. Okay, so C, I'm going to write that down. That's, 12x minus 8y minus 12z, equals negative 40. Okay, now if you look at these, again, I'm trying to get the same variable to cancel out as I did with A and B up above in red. So I want to get the y's to cancel out. So I see that if I could take equation B, and if I could take that, and I could multiply that equation by a 2, now the entire equation by a 2, I just want to focus on one thing. Look at what would happen here. You will see that you're going to get a positive 8y, and in C I have a negative 8y, and then I will get things to cancel out. Okay, so let's go, and you'll see hopefully a little bit more what I'm talking about. So let's distribute that 2 in B through, and that's going to become 16x plus 8y minus 4z equals 8. Okay, so notice that that 2 gets distributed through to everything. Okay, oops, but I did forget that that's not a minus 4z. That should be a minus 8z. Silly me, because the 2 gets distributed through to everything. All right, then we just drop down the C equation, because we don't need to do anything to that, because watch what's going to happen. Notice that our y's are the same exact thing and opposite signs. So when I go ahead and add them, sorry, I'm going to have to squeeze that in, that's a negative 40. When I add them, look, my y's are going to cancel out. Just like A and B's y's canceled out above in red. So I'm going to get another equation, and that equation is 28x minus 20z equals, and that's going to be a negative 32. Okay, and I'm going to call that one E. So look at your D equation and look at your E equation. They both have x's in them. They both have z's in them. So what we've just done is we've gotten two more equations with just two variables. So now that I have two equations with two variables, I'm going to kind of repeat the same process and try to get rid of yet another variable. So if I look at D, I notice that if I can take D and multiply that by 5, let me throw a 5 out here, there we go, you're going to see that what's going to happen is I'm going to get 60x plus 20z equals 120. Sorry about that. And then I'm going to keep E the same. And you should see it right there. Look at the z's. Okay, they're opposites of each other. So when I add, I know that they're going to cancel out. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so then those are gone. I add, and I get 88x equals 88. And then when I divide by 88, I get that x is 1. Once I've done that, now all I need to do is go back to either equation D or equation E. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to go back to D, and I'm going to plug in that 1. So I'm going to do 12 times 1 plus 4z equals 24. So I get 12 plus 4z equals 24. Sorry, my pen is just not really being very cooperative today. So 4z is equal to 12, and z is equal to 3. Okay? All right, and then once we're done with that, we have one more letter to solve for, and we're done. So you can go back to any of the original three equations. It doesn't really matter. A, B, or C is fine. I'm going to go back to A. And notice that as I'm going along, I'm labeling each equation. That way we as graders know what you're going back to. Otherwise, we really have no clue, and it makes it very difficult for us to grade, and you potentially could lose points. So I'm going to go back to A, which, if you recall from the first slide, is 4x minus 4y plus 8z equals 20. Now, if you look, I've got x equals 1, I've got z equals 3. So I'm just going to do 4 times 1, I still don't know what y is, plus 8 times z, which I now know is 3, and that equals 20. So I've got 4 minus 4y plus 24 equals 20. And if I just consolidate a little bit more, I have negative 4y plus 28 is equal to 20. And I'm going to move that 28 over. I'm going to subtract it. Just because I'm running out of room, I'm going to sort of skip that step. But I do subtract that 28, and I get negative 8. And then I'm going to divide both sides by that negative 4. Again, I'm running out of room, so I'm just going to show you right now. And then y is equal to 2. There we go. First one done.